very myopic about the cyclists. All they're worried about is, oh, it's in my way, and I'm driving my car to work, or I'm driving my car to pick up the kids, and that cyclist is in my way.
That's the car driver as king theory, isn't it? Yeah, or queen.
It's true. It's the reality. The other point of that, if I can get through to any driver, is that when you're riding a bike, we don't just own 6 inches of the right-hand side of your lane. We're actually considered a vehicle. And you have to share the lane with us. And if there's no room for you to pass between me and the other car, you're not going to shove me into the wall for it.
Well, no, you're a vehicle just like the car. That's right. That's right. So, Jill, thank you very much. Those are all great points.
Okay, thank
you very much.
Bye-bye.
Jill's good point about the, being involved in an accident. And you don't, as a cyclist, you don't get off scot-free necessarily.
Well, it's true. However, I'd just like to touch on one point he did bring up out of the 4 or 5. One is about cycling being good for tourism, and we're not quite as myopic. We actually have an international bike race taking place on May 30th in Toronto, where we're closing off the downtown section of Toronto, basically between.
Well, that's great when you close off the off the traffic. Everybody. When the Don Valley gets closed every year, that's great.
Yeah, but this is a bike race. It's going to attract tourism. It's going to be televised, in fact. So this is a major event, I think, to put cycling on the map in the city. It's events like this that actually, act as the window for people to see that cycling is a major activity, and that's why we have these kinds of things.
Toronto is also host of the World Cycle Messenger Championships this summer. It's a major international event that's coming to Toronto. And
so you mean like the guys on the...
so everyone can break their stereotypes and actually come down and meet these people and see what it's all about.
Some of those kids on those bikes, though, are in such control of those bikes, I have to say. I mean, you swear they're going to kill you when you see them coming down the street.
And they don't have brakes, some of them.
Yeah, well, that's another issue, isn't it? Before we forget about it, and the whole hour goes by and we haven't talked about the Tour de Greenbelt.
That's right.
What is that all about?
The Tour de Greenbelt is a new festival that's being put together by the Friends of the Greenbelt Foundation and Mountain Equipment Co-op, and it's going to be 4 days of riding in the Greenbelt area, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a protected land zone that surrounds Toronto, and it's actually just was labeled the world's most diverse and largest greenbelt.
Well, it goes right down into the peninsula and all the way up and around.
That's right, the Niagara Escarpment, the Oak Ridges Moraine, right up the Bruce Trail through Tobermory. It's very diverse, and we're going to be riding in 4 regions.
And that's fairly unique in the world, isn't it? That greenbelt situation, and the fact that it's pretty good bike riding in some of those areas?
Very good cycling. I think Margaret can speak to that, but we have lots of great off-road. I would call that more of an off-road bike lane, for lack of better words. And
well, it's a lot like fewer cars.
Our tour is going to be all on-road, and we're really trying to promote safety in cycling across Ontario. And to promote things like having paved shoulders on the roads. And there's a new Ontario bike plan out as well that really talks about things on a larger scale that we can do and start to build the network across the province.
How do our bike trails through our park system, how do they rate? I think some of them are pretty good, and the waterfront trail, I'm a big fan of that. There are a lot of various the Leslie Spit, we were just talking about that the other night. That's a great out and back for 6 quick kilometers, right?
Gorgeous, Tommy Thompson Park out there,
But how do they rate, Fred? How do we know?
I think we have a few great trails, like the Waterfront Trail, the Dawn Trail, all those. But our issue is maintenance. We're falling behind a lot. A lot of the trails have, or cracks, potholes, that sort of thing, and they're not cleared of snow in the winter. So people that like to use them as commute routes don't have that option in the winter. The other thing is we're lagging way behind on building new bike trails. We're catching up and accelerating what's going on the street to get more bike lanes, but we need to do the same in our parks because, if people have the option, that's where they prefer to be riding. In the nature,
absolutely. And the more those parks can have some connectivity, the better it is for everybody, right?
Let's not forget about the importance of signage and promoting those routes as well.
It could be kind of like a bicycle version of the path.
That's right.
Where you could get from, you could actually go somewhere using the paths.
Well, I think our network this year, which is 50 kilometers of on-street bike lanes and 40 kilometers of off-road lanes, is going to certainly contribute to that, though.
Yeah. But Fred's got a point, too, about the upkeep. We've got to keep those things in good shape.
The upkeep is happening, and that does not include the upkeep this year as well. The trouble is, we don't get, unlike cars, when people phone in about potholes on roads, I've never had a phone call ever come into my office, nor into transportation, people complaining about the state of bike lanes and phoning up, there's a pothole.
Now, here's the thing. You go on the trails in Toronto, the bicycle shares the trail with the pedestrians. The bicyclist is coming along, there are pedestrians in front. They give them a little honk like that and, and go around. Why can't that happen on the sidewalk?
Sidewalks are only pedestrians, are only meant for pedestrians, and that's their thoroughfare.
Well,
so.
that's the way it is now. But I'm saying is that do you ever see a day where the sidewalks would, under some conditions, be shared between bikes and the pedestrians?
I think two issues come up. One is the width. I mean, those off-road trails are much wider. Don't have the same volume as some downtown sidewalks, and it comes back to that point we were talking about before, where the intersections.
Yeah.
You have drivers coming out, they're looking for slow-moving pedestrian traffic. They're not as ready for cyclists who are zooming past.
Yeah, but it's, okay. Evelyn, what were you going to say?
You've got major retailers where they open the door, and you're right at the sidewalk. I mean, you don't want your
you could
customers
get doored
coming,
by a store door then, couldn't you? Does that ever happen?
Or even
I
a
guess
pedestrian.
it must have happened at some point.
I almost hit a cyclist coming out of a bakery the other morning, opening the door.
Opening the door
they had to zoom off because they weren't expecting the door to open, but they shouldn't have been on the sidewalk, if you ask me.
Well, that's another law. I mean, as a driver in the car, you're guilty of a traffic offense if you don't look first before you open the door.
Yeah.
Right?
And passengers, they forget to open.
Yeah.
Forget to look behind, or the driver.
Anyone who opens
any door
a
open.
door.
Yeah.
Is that still one of the worst threats when you're driving downtown, to be doored?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because it can be the injury could be so serious. So you come over the bike, you may slam into the car door.
Yeah.
Well, as an experienced cyclist, you know not to ride that close. You leave yourself enough space, and
So
you're
that if the
legally
door
entitled
opens
to
up.
that space, so that if the door does open, it doesn't matter. You're still in your direct path.
And the other thing is you're actually looking for cars that have people in them. So the opportunity for them to open the door unexpectedly.
Yeah, it takes that kind of practiced eye, doesn't it? If you see somebody
Up
sitting
ahead.
in the car, you're going to edge over as far as you
Exactly.
can in case that door pops open. And in some cases they do, just when you're going by, don't they?
Yeah.
All right, here's Richard calling from Toronto. Richard, is Toronto safe for cycling? What do you think?
I think it is, but there's one thing that's missing. People are not courteous when it comes to cycling. There are some guys that just won't slow down.
Yeah.
And I mean, they think they own the road or the sidewalk, and they don't wear the helmets. This is a real problem.
Oh, you're complaining about the cyclists?
Yeah, other cyclists too.
I see.
I'm not saying it's a bad activity.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that when people are not courteous, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
They need to be educated, really need to be educated.
Yeah, Richard, thank you very much. I think you're absolutely... We talk often about the attitude that drivers have towards other drivers and all kinds of road rage incidents, people cutting people off. It's the same, isn't it, with when you have bicycles combined with vehicles?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had some incidents of bike rage.
Indeed, we
rage,
have.
Where there's been altercations with drivers. But I think once again, it comes down that we have to build up a mutual respect between drivers and cyclists, and saying that we have a public thoroughfare and we have to share it.
How well do the cops on bikes help control some of that, do you think, Evelyn?
Well, they're out there on the streets the same way we are, so they also see and get probably the same response before you're driving along in your car and you think it's this regular cyclist. The next thing you know, you're being pulled over by a policeman. So,
that's right.
That's right. It's good to see them out there, actually, on bikes, because it gives us a bigger presence.
How many are there? Do we have enough out there on the roads? Anybody know how many we have?
I don't know how many there are. I know they're dispatched from each unit separately. I think they're a community outreach unit of some kind.
Yeah. But they're real cops, too. They stop traffic.
Definitely. It's important to have them out there as well, just to create that presence. And, you know, for kids in that as well, to see a uniformed officer on a bike, it's really, something to look up to.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see the officers on bikes actually maybe stopping some of the kids that they see and asking them why they don't have a helmet on.
Yeah.
Or maybe just even stopping for a moment to help adjust their helmet so that it's on properly. Because I see so many kids with their helmets are like this, and it's back on their back. What good is that? I mean, from an accident perspective,
I
it's
had
just
a
not